I'm back.
All your favorite wrestling shows rolled into one. Welcome to the We Book It podcast. Let's start the show.
I'm back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the All Elite Recap. I am your host, Coach, and thank you once more for joining us. And tell you what, a lot happened tonight on Dynamite, and actually it was more of, I guess, a mini pay-per-view because it was Beach Break here tonight, a special edition of Dynamite. Lots of action, so we're just going to jump right on in. We kick things off with Chris Jericho taking on Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa tried to sneak attack Y2J during his entrance, but Jericho slipped through the crowd to come up behind Ciampa, and the two brawled on the beach-themed stage before the official match. It was kind of reminiscent of a Bash at the Beach from the WCW days. Even once they got into the ring, physicality, of course, took right off. It was right before the commercial break. Ciampa hit a fairy tale ending on the steel steps that got Jericho busted open, and blood started coming out of Jericho because it wouldn't be a Ciampa match without at least some blood. Back from the break, Ciampa was hitting a diving air raid crash for a near fall. Jericho struggled to battle back, but he did hit a code breaker when Ciampa tried to use a sand-filled bucket as a weapon. Ciampa then hit some running knees for a dramatic near fall that Jericho kicked out. But as he went for a third running knee, Y2J turned it into the walls of Jericho. And then after the referee, Aubrey Edwards, was distracted, Ciampa grabbed the bucket, threw the sand into Jericho's eyes, and hit a running knee for the win. After the match was over, Ciampa then got a steel chair and started hitting Jericho with that as well. And he was threatening to use a drill, like a drill that you would use for screws and everything, but security came out and asked him to leave. This was the first match in what I think is going to be a very strong feud for both men. This is Ciampa going the non-title route right now, and Jericho kind of getting back into the swing of things in AEW. So I thought it was a really good match, and I'm really excited to see where this rivalry goes. I mean, just the physicality of it, and especially with somebody at Jericho's age still doing that. He's very consistent. He might not be able to keep up with the top athlete, but he doesn't look like he's struggling to compete at all, like it was before he took his last leave of absence from AEW. So, like I said, not the end of the story. I do think that this one's going to go on for a while. We'll see how this rivalry ends. I bet it goes into the Redemption pay-per-view for AEW. So like I said, the beach-themed stage, I thought that was really nice, and it was an outdoor setup. It was just a really, really nice touch for the theme, and I think just based off that opening match, it was set up for what was going to be a very, very good night. We go to our next match, which is an AEW International Championship. It is Takeshita taking on Kyle Fletcher. They were both hitting each other hard. Fletcher found an opening to take control with a nice right elbow strike. A lot of back and forth. There was a a wheelbarrow suplex on the apron that Takeshita hit on Fletcher. They had some strong offense, hitting not their stride just yet before the commercial break. Fletcher actually hit the Raging Fire and Takeshita hit the Raging Fire, and Fletcher got his foot on the rope after Takeshita took a very long time to go for the cover. We then had Takeshita hit a brainbuster for just a 2 count. However, damage was done. Fletcher then hits a corner brainbuster, and after that, it was a 1-2-3 pin, and Kyle Fletcher is your new AEW International Champion. So a quick title change here at the beginning of Beach. After the match, Mick Foley arrived to interview Fletcher. Kevin Knight then came by and mocked Fletcher for taking so long to get the gold again. Andrade then arrived to make it clear he was coming after Fletcher. And it was just a whole debacle at the end there. But to recap this match, it was never going to be a question of how good this match was going to be. It was just about how good would it be, and it was a fantastic match. The similar style that these two work with often leads to epic encounters between the two. This match was match of the night, in my opinion, and while it was a surprising result to see Fletcher get the win after Takeshita had just about a 2-month reign, or not even 2 months, about a month and a half reign as the International Championship, it makes sense because of the hiatus that Takeshita is going to take here with the G1 Climax coming up. So it did make sense when you think about it. It was just kind of shock. It was more of a shock value kind of thing. Fletcher is just solidifying himself as one of the best young stars in AEW. He's just 27 years old. I think Takeshita will be back when he comes back at All In. I could see this being a triple threat at All In with Okada and Fletcher. But as for the post-match interview, Mick Foley just looked a little bit awkward. Hopefully it's just him dusting off some rust, but it was not the cleanest of looks. So really, really good job on that match. And like I said, I thought match of the night right there. We go to our next match, which is a tag team match with Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley taking on the Workhorsemen. The Workhorsemen had their advantage of being an actual tag team that Ospreay and Mox did not have. Back from the break, Ospreay fought into the corner to get a hot tag with encouragement from Marina Shafir. Mox took over. Ospreay laid out Drake with a very impressive Styles Clash, while Mox hit Henry with a pile driver. They followed with a Death Rider Hidden Blade combo on Drake to get the win. Well, I mean, it's nice to see the Workhorsemen in the ring. They pretty much have no credibility on AEW TV, so this was never going to be a question that who the winner was going to be. The goal for this match was to show that Mox and Ospreay can do together against tag teams with far more chemistry. Crowd was into it, which was great. There's nothing much to complain about beyond it going longer than it should have. It's just more teasing that Mox and Ospreay are going to be a tag team. But other than that, it just wasn't. It just, I don't know. It just didn't sit right with me. But I get where they're going with it. It just wasn't the, I guess, ideal spot for this, but we'll figure that out at another day. We then go to our Casino Gauntlet for an AEW Women's World Championship match, and this featured Athena, Maya World, Sky Blue, Shirakawa, Rina, Julia Hart, Thunder Rosa, and Willow Nightingale. And as they got back from a commercial break after a quick introduction, Thunder Rosa almost sealed the win for Athena when she accidentally, or rather, that was Athena who did that, hit the O-face to Rosa. Willow arrived, which was the biggest surprise of the night, and she ran over everyone, especially after the Fallen Goddess. Maya World helped take out Sky Blue. Willow then sealed the victory with a Babes with the powerbomb on Julia Hart. And then after the match was over, Tequila caught Willow with a spear, and then afterwards Dominion laid out the Sisters of Sin to set up Mercedes Moné to lay out both Tequila and Willow. So a lot of craziness there happening towards the end. Casino Gauntlets are usually a pretty fun and fast-paced action. The women took a different approach this time. They went more edgy and hardcore since this was a no disqualification format. I liked that it allowed the Sisters of Sin to dominate the action and set the stage for the return of Willow, who was, as soon as she entered, everyone knew she was going to win. She looked fantastic, running through the rest of the field to deliver an emphatic victory and set herself up for a championship match. It begs the question, I do think that Tequila and Willow was the original plan for All In before Willow's injury took her out of the Owen Hart tournament. But this was a nice way to get, it seems like Willow was back a little bit quicker than people expected, and that's great for her. So she is back in it. So it's just really nice to see Willow back in it. As for Mercedes, working with Megan Bayne and Lena Cross is very intriguing. So we'll see how that happens in the coming weeks with that trio. It is a shame that the match did not do a bit more with other competitors, but hey, Athena got on TV. We haven't seen her in forever, the Ring of Honor champion. So fingers crossed we see her more going forward. All right, we get to our main event of the evening, and that is an AEW Men's World Championship between MJF and Kenny Omega, with the stipulation that if Kenny Omega loses, then he can never challenge for the title as long as MJF holds it. Right off the bat, Kenny was going for the one-winged angel, but MJF poked him in the eye and flipped both of them over the rope. They went into the crowd, then got onto the stage, and teasing their finishing moves each time as they were on the stage. Omega turned the tide after kicking MJF off the apron through the announce table. But MJF responded with a tombstone pile driver on a standing steel chair. Omega stopped a heat seeker attempt while MJF avoided another V-trigger and a one-winged angel. The two fought in the corner where MJF reversed that one-winged angel into a second rope Poison Arana, which was fantastic, and was followed by a heat seeker, which everyone thought was it, only for Omega to kick out at 2.99. Will Ospreay then arrived to take away the Dynamite Diamond Ring, but when Omega hesitated to hit MJF with the world title, MJF low-blowed him and blasted him with the gold instead. Omega managed to kick out instantly and then hit a trio of V-triggers followed by the one-winged angel to win and become the new AEW World Champion. These two have had great matches in the past. This is going to sound harsh. I don't think it was their best match form-wise. However, if we're talking storytelling-wise with these two, this was fantastic. This match was just the desperation you could see in Kenny Omega's moves, because knowing that this was probably his last chance to get this, even at the age of 42, he knows he does not have many more title opportunities. So you could just see how he desperately needed this. Even outside, with it being outside and the heat coming down on both these guys, you would think they were exhausted. They delivered an excellent match, and it looks like we might be getting one last title run for Kenny Omega. This sets up Omega versus Ospreay for the All-In main event, and it should be interesting to see how AEW builds this match in the next month. These two have been friendly for a long time, but it is unlikely that Omega is going to be the fan favorite at Wembley against Will Ospreay. One thing I do want to mention about MJF, his gear was in the style of Bam Bam Bigelow, honoring the WCW legend from his Bash at the Beach back in 1999. Really good stuff there from MJF. So, just to recap, this was essentially a free pay-per-view on television from AEW, and it gave that feel for them. It had some really good pace to it. I will say this again: Takeshita and Fletcher stole the show for me, at least. What I also liked about it was the unpredictability. Now, could this be that AEW was trying to respond after what WWE has done the last 2 weeks with their 2 surprise title changes? Technically 3 if you include the tag team titles, but with Sammy beating Cody, CM Punk then beating Sammy, one could make that argument. But it does go to show that anything can happen on the road to All In with these championships changing hands. Ciampa and Jericho was good. Casino Gauntlet was great for the women, especially seeing Willow come back. Ospreay and Moxley, it was okay. But I think the one thing that would have put this over the top, if we had one more match in there, I think adding one more would have done wonders for AEW. But instead of the frequent backstage interviews and the weird Don Callis Family promo, and the Don Callis Family is really starting to fall off a little bit. Their promos are not looking the best right now, and it's a shame because they used to be on point and used to be great. But I still think this was a great show. Beach Break, was it going to be an all-timer? Probably not, but this is still one that people are going to talk about if you're a major AEW fan, and you're going to say, remember Beach Break and how awesome that was? I think people will remember that, the diehards for sure. But I think a solid A for this mini pay-per-view, aka Dynamite. I mean, call it what you want, but AEW delivered tonight, and the last couple of nights of wrestling, whether you are a WWE AEW fan, TNA fan, everybody's stepping their game up, trying to outdo one another. And while the competition gets fierce, us as wrestling fans, we benefit from it because we see everyone putting on their best effort and not just mailing it in thinking that we are just going to hang around no matter what. It's a really nice sign to see. Tonight kind of solidified that, and it is a great thing for us wrestling fans. So thank you to AEW for upping the competition tonight for WWE so that we can enjoy great shows. That's going to do it for me here on another edition of the AEW Recap. Special shout out to my man Virgil for being the producer tonight. I tried to do the producing on my own, having some technical difficulties, but don't you worry, folks. I will be a self-made man eventually. But until then, shout out to Virgil for doing the producing for me tonight. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to all of our content here at the We Book It podcast. Hope you all had a very safe and happy 4th of July, and I will see you next week on another edition of AEW Recap.